I'm really glad you could sit down with me tonight for this explainer. There's this hidden operating system to the world. It's a set of rules most adults never really bother to explain. But, well, you're smart enough to get it. We're going to take things at a nice, slow, relaxed pace today. I was recently reading this pretty heavy global economic report, and something fascinating but honestly kind of heartbreaking caught my eye. The headlines were basically saying that Africa's economy is just going to keep bearing the heavy cost of this huge oil price shock. Simply put, international gasoline and diesel prices have been on a total roller coaster. And because of this, so many African nations are struggling immensely. Prices are skyrocketing, governments have actually had to completely cancel fuel subsidies, and the cost of just everyday life has exploded. So tonight, I want to share with you how this storm, which seems so far away, is actually blowing right up to our front door.
Okay, so let's dive into this. I want to ask you a question that might seem, a bit backwards at first. Why does having the most resources sometimes make you the poorest? You're probably thinking, wait a minute, if these countries literally have oil right under their feet, shouldn't they be incredibly wealthy? How could they possibly be poor? Well, uncovering the answer to that exact question is the very first secret of the world's hidden operating system that we're going to unlock together today. There's a perfect way to picture exactly what's happening here. I like to call it the Boba Tea drive-through analogy. So imagine a farmer who grows the absolute best top-tier black tea leaves in the entire world. But inside his house, he has no pots, no fresh milk, and definitely no tapioca pearls. He literally can't make boba tea himself. So what does he do? He sells his premium raw tea leaves, which in this case represents raw crude oil, to massive foreign factories at a really cheap price. Those big factories take it, they process his tea, brew it, add the milk and pearls, and turn it into this delicious premium black sugar boba milk tea. That's the refined fuel. Then, the original farmer actually has to buy back that finished boba tea just for his own family to drink, but now he's paying a massive premium for it. Now here is where the real crisis hits. Recently, those international refining factories drastically raised their processing fees. Suddenly, our farmer realized that the tiny bit of money he made selling raw tea leaves isn't even close to enough to buy back the finished boba tea. At first, just to keep his family happy, he reached into his own pockets to subsidize the cost. But eventually, his wallet went completely empty. He had no choice but to cancel those subsidies. Almost overnight, the price of that boba tea, which is the refined oil they literally need to survive, tripled. A massive 3 times increase. Imagine just not being able to afford the gas for the bus to get to school, or the fuel needed by the delivery trucks. Everyday life simply grinds to a halt.
So the crucial thing to understand here is that this phenomenon actually has a real name in economics. It's called the resource curse. Sounds a bit like dark magic, doesn't it? It's essentially the curse of having too much inherited wealth. See, because a country has abundant oil or gold just sitting underground, there's really little motivation to build factories, develop complex technology, or invest deeply in education. I mean, digging up resources to sell is just easier, right? But when global prices drop, or when they lack the technology to refine their own materials, they instantly lose their ability to generate wealth. It's exactly like a student who just cheats on all their homework to get first place. When they finally have to sit down and take the actual exam, they realize they don't know how to answer a single question.
There's a deeper, much quieter truth here, and I really want you to let this quote sink in. When you look at these resource-rich countries struggling so much, it teaches us this profound life lesson. You never, ever need to envy those kids who are born into money or the ones who seem to just have more natural resources handed to them than you do. Because honestly, if you don't develop the resilience, the skills, and the internal strength to create your own value, well, innate resources are actually a curse. You just can't hold on to them. The true wealth you are building right now, your curiosity, your ability to think critically, your drive, that is a strength that absolutely no one can ever take away from you.
Which brings us to the second hidden mechanism driving the world right now, and that's called cost-push inflation. Now, when you see prices going up everywhere, it's super easy to assume that business owners are just being greedy. But cost-push inflation means that the absolute basic building blocks of production, things like the energy to run the machines and the freight costs to move the goods, have skyrocketed. Bosses are essentially forced to raise their prices just to avoid going totally bankrupt. It's really the worst kind of inflation because our wallets shrink, things get way more expensive, but the overall economy doesn't actually improve at all.
Section 1. The World Cafe Game. How the global superpowers play their hands. So let's step away from the economics textbook for just a moment and imagine walking into a smoky, dimly lit coffee shop. Welcome to the World Cafe. This is where the world's adults, the major global superpowers, are sitting around a table reacting to this crisis based on their own highly unique personalities. First, take a look at the USA at the table. They're playing the role of the commanding golden retriever, or the ENTJ personality. They kind of slam their coffee cup down and dictate the rules, using their massive shale oil reserves to control the supply chain. Then, sitting quietly in the corner is China, acting like the deep-thinking mastiff. They aren't yelling, they're just sipping their tea, patiently relying on the infrastructure and mineral equity they secured in Africa years ago. Meanwhile, you've got Germany sitting there with perfect posture, the systematic shepherd. They're insisting that emotional debates won't fix debt. Their strategy? A cold, calculated transition to green energy to just stop the bleeding.
And the table just keeps going. Japan is the diligent Shiba. They really don't want to be the center of attention. They're quietly focusing on providing the world's absolute best energy-saving technology to silently support the supply chain. Taiwan is the empathetic mix, reading the room and realizing that while the big powers fight for control, someone needs to actually care about stabilizing the global tech and chip markets. Then suddenly, India jumps on a chair. They are the energetic pariah dog, throwing out these disruptive ideas like super cheap electric tricycles to completely bypass expensive oil. And finally, Vietnam is the dedicated Phuquoc dog, sweating in the background to ensure the physical supply chains absolutely do not break under all this pressure.
So as we watch these superpowers bicker and scheme in the world's cafe, we need to zoom back into your reality. You might be sitting there asking yourself, why does a butterfly flapping its wings in Africa create a storm in my own life? How does this distant oil crisis actually matter to me at all? Let's trace that butterfly effect step by step. Step 1. African oil prices rise, making energy incredibly expensive. Step 2. Well, Africa is home to many of the rare minerals we need for computer chips and electric vehicle batteries. Because energy is expensive, mining those minerals suddenly becomes wildly expensive too. Step 3. That raw material cost just gets passed right down the line, meaning the new laptops and smartphones you want to buy become much pricier. And step 4, because everything is more expensive globally, people stop buying as much. Global consumption drops. And when that happens, places that manufacture the world's technology see a massive drop in export orders, which then impacts the local economy right where you might live. You see, everything is deeply, invisibly connected. Section 2. Your Wealth Superpowers. Deciphering the world's wealth codes. Now that you can see the strings pulling the world, I don't want you to just sit back passively. I really want to empower you. It's time to unlock your own wealth superpowers. And I've got 2 actionable plans for you to start practicing right now. Superpower number 1 is microeconomic observation. The next time you're driving past a gas station, just look up at the glowing numbers on the sign. Track them in your head. When you notice gas prices going up for a few weeks, pay close attention the next time you go to the convenience store. You'll likely start noticing shrinkflation. That's when your favorite bag of potato chips suddenly has fewer chips in it, or maybe your drink costs just a little bit more. By connecting the numbers at the gas station to the snacks on the shelf, you're actively cultivating your own sharp market sensitivity. You are literally seeing the matrix.
Superpower number 2 is mock investing. And hey, you don't need real money for this at all. Just grab a notebook and create a virtual account for yourself. Let's say you have 1,000 virtual dollars. Allocate a portion of that to gold, which is the classic protector against inflation.
allocate another portion to clean energy ETFs, things like solar or electric vehicles, and put the rest of it into traditional oil companies. Over the next few months, as you hear news about energy crises or inflation, just look up how your virtual assets are doing. See for yourself which investments actually hold up and protect your wealth during a real-world crisis.
The fact that you've sat here and walked through complex macroeconomics, the resource curse, and this whole geopolitical world cafe with me, well, it really shows your maturity. You are already miles ahead of your peers in understanding how the world actually works. The world's wealth codes are truly hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone with the curiosity and the resilience to decode them. So keep that sharp mind of yours focused. I think I'm going to go grab myself a real boba tea now, but I want to leave you with this one question. Now that you know the rules of the game, how are you going to play your hand?